John?
Hey Julian, that was dumb. I had my sound setting wrong and I couldn't hear you enter the
Yeah,
room.
that's all right.
No
That's all
problem.
right. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I was just having a little nap on the couch, so I'm not at my very sharpest.
That's all right.
It's a beautiful summer's evening, and
Yeah, same here. It's stunning, to be honest. It's still a bit cool, I must say. Like, even in this time of the year, it's not really warming up the air.
mhm.
It's,
I just came back from a sports practice with my daughter, and I got to lie on the grass and sort of sleep on the grass for half an hour, which I really do. And that felt pretty damn good.
that's nice. What does she do?
And she plays hurling, which is the Irish sport. It's kind of like field hockey, except a bit rougher.
Oh, okay, okay. Interesting.
And somebody brought me a lovely cup of tea.
Look at that. You've been looked after. You got everything you need.
I'm getting a little bit of I still get a bit of VIP service from time to time, man. So, would you like to tell everybody a little bit about who you are, what you do?
Yeah, sure. So, I started my business probably 5 or 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, so to be honest, I say I started my business. My business started on itself because I was working for large corporations. I was doing change management, and so basically, I was recruited by a packaging company who was acquiring smaller companies with uh, a particular emphasis on acquiring companies that have promising technology,
Okay.
scientific advancements of any kind.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were buying these companies and then extracting the science or the R&D bit they were interested in and rolling it out to all of their factories across Europe. Um, but when you do that, you often get issues extracting the technology if the acquired company doesn't want to play ball, or you can get issue in rolling out because the companies that were in the group already don't want to be told what to do in brackets by other people. Do you see what I mean? So I got into this company to help with that sort of process, which is what you can refer to change management, the art of driving change within a business. How do you do that? There's lots of ways of doing it and stuff. So I was doing that, and I used to go and
Oh no, I need to dig into that a little bit and just get a little bit more understanding before you go further.
uh-huh.
Um, so you're telling me when somebody buys a company or when somebody sells a company,
Yeah,
even though the company on paper, the assets have been transferred, the money's been
yeah,
paid, the new owner has been installed,
yeah.
but the workers in the company
hmm
don't want to work for the new owner. Is that right? Or they don't want to play along with the new owner, don't want to play
They
ball.
yeah, they might not want to play along with the new management. That's right. They can have resistance. So I've seen that. For example, in France, I remember they acquired a company called Auto. So the company I
Mhm.
was working for was called DS Smith Packaging, and they acquired this company called Auto, which went into liquidation for lots of reasons. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that, but they were bought after, judicial and bankruptcy was pronounced and all that. Anyway, 5 years after the acquisition, if you went to an ex-auto factory, you would still have the auto flag, the auto logo. You wouldn't know you were with DS Smith, despite the rebranding and all the emphasis on, being together and all that stuff. They were just not interested. They were just doing their thing. And so these guys, I think it's common knowledge, so I can say that now. It was 5 years ago. They had developed an incredible software that enabled you at the time I'm speaking to you about. It was a complete revolution. It was just no one had ever seen anything like this. So you could put the sort of product you wanted to transport and package in
Mhm.
brown boxes or whatever, the dimension of that, and the thing will calculate based on the lorries you have, the deliveries you need to make, all the supply chain. It will tell you the right size of box and the right shape of box you need to optimize the whole thing across. And you imagine the number of parameters you had was astronomical.
Mhm.
That thing was, and they just didn't want to share the software.
So this is the thing you're saying that when people are buying and selling things like
Yeah.
yeah, it's a product, it's a piece of software, it's a machine, it's a design. but the
Yes.
knowledge of how to use this
Yeah.
thing or how to extract the value from it is embedded
Yeah.
in the people who've made
Yes.
it and work with it.
Yes.
And those
Yes.
people may not want to share that knowledge,
Yes.
even if legally they're obliged to.
Yes. 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 And what are you going to do? You're going to your only recourse is fire them. Well, that's progress. Well done. You fired them. They go to the competitors and then they share it with them. Like, wow, we won. No, you can't do that. You need to, well, this is where change management. It's the same thing when you introduce a new piece of technology that will reduce employees' numbers by half. The people may not want to use this. They may say,
Yes.
well, or they may be slow on purpose. You have all sorts of resistance, tactics deployed by, not, and even unconsciously, right? They're not even like concerting with each other. They might just not want to embrace this new thing and just don't like it. And for that reason, this just creates lots of inefficiency.
Or they're just simply dissatisfied as human beings, and then suddenly their motivation fades away, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They have
Okay.
sickness days rising, all this kind of stuff. Yeah, exactly.
So for somebody like you who is tasked with actually trying to fix one of these situations or turn it around, how do you approach it?
So the best situation is when you get started properly, because once a change has been introduced and refused, it's a lot harder. You still have ways, but you've lost the battle at this point. Pretty much, it's very, very difficult. But you need to prepare it before, and to do that, you usually this is going to sound very like a deja vu for a lot of your listeners, who went through the 2021, 2022. And I'm going to probably use a lot of the COVID as examples. So hopefully your podcast won't be striked out by YouTube. But you introduce a danger to life, a danger to existence. So this is what we refer to as a burning platform. In change management, you talk about creating a burning platform.
Good old
And
fear marketing.
Okay. I'm sorry, it works.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. So the burning platform is this image of, you imagine an oil rig in the middle of an ocean.
Yes.
People don't know about oil rig, but you have your room, you have canteen and restaurants facility. In fact, you usually have a restaurant for management and a restaurant for the workers. So you're quite comfortable on your oil rig, give or take. What would it take? What would it take to get you jump from the oil rig into the cold ocean? A fire. There's a fire. You need to jump on a little canoe and get onto the ocean. That's it. So when we introduce a change in the company, we create a fire.
Okay.
If we don't do that, we will die. So we can pull out stats from the competitors and show that we are decreasing. You create a narrative and a story around the fact that you have to change.
Apollo, excuse me for laughing there, Julien, but I was thinking about the footballer Eric Cantona. I remember he was a very philosophical guy talking about seagulls chasing a trawler.
That's it. Yeah.
Is this kind of maritime metaphors? This is a very French thing, yeah?
Probably, probably. I mean, he was from Corsica, so saying he was French is probably pushing it anyway.
Oh, okay.
It's like saying you're British because you're in Ireland, like it's probably pushing it.
Okay, yeah. The Corsicans, I've never met any of them, but they're somewhere between French and Italian, right? They're kind of
Yeah, they're Corsicans, they're their own selves. We often say in France the solution to the Corsican problem is 30 minutes of immersion.
Okay. I'm definitely getting struck out by YouTube now for sure. Okay, let's continue. So you have this burning platform situation, or you have to create the perception of the burning platform to make people understand that this change is going to happen one way or another, and you can escape to relative safety, or you can be consumed in the ungodly fires.
That's it. And then from that, again, this is what I was saying, this is going to sound a lot like COVID, is that you want to get your 70, 80% of people to be on board with this idea. Once you've achieved this, the number will carry. And the people who are against the idea or not embracing the idea will get ostracized very quickly. And so you know that typical, like, it's probably a very French reference I'm gonna make, but the typical like unionist or typical employee who's always got like was always, you know, recriminating and wanting more and asking for this and for that. If he carries the other people on his side, then you've lost. But if you, with your burning platform narrative, if you manage to isolate these people, then you're won. That's it. It's done.
Okay, so I mean, I think in the situation of like trade unionists and activists in the
Yes.
workplace, the classic
Yes.
solution was give them a promotion and more money, and
So
suddenly
you
they.
can do that. So you can so that's dealing with a very individual problem. Yeah, I mean that's been done. Um, yeah, that's been done. You know, you promote them usually outside of the factory where they're working for, the site they work in. And you give them a big company car and you make them travel around the country to do some bullshit project, and that's it. You know, they're out of sight and out of mind. Um, but the change management is really, you're talking about a group. You're not talking about an individual. You're
Mhm.
trying to move a pack of people into another direction. And for that, you've got to have like your 70, 80% going, and then the rest will follow. Um,
So when you were doing this kind of work,
mhm.
and we'll move on to recruitment in a minute, but this is actually interesting because there's a lot of psychology embedded in this.
Oh,
Did you
Hildebrand.
spend a lot of time sort of planning strategy and messaging before you ever actually went into the company and
Yes.
started to work with the people?
Yeah, you would work a lot on your narrative. You would work a lot on the narrative, the burning platform itself. You know, make it sound, you know, easy like this, but it has to be absolutely fucking airtight. The minutes the guys who are going to be against it find an angle on it and call the
Mhm.
bullshit, you're done. You are done. You're finished. So that narrative's got to be so airtight. It is just you can't you you know you cannot find an angle on it. You know it's completely tight. Um, and and the delivering the narrative as well, and then following through because if it is really a matter of life and death for the company, what you're proposing, you cannot accept resistance. You've got to march on, march on, march on, march on, march on, and whatever, you know, the opposition. And it is usually this determination that will make people believe in the story. Because if you are coming up with your burning platform story, but your action don't match that, which is often the case when people do it not properly, and management or leadership of the company is weak, they come with a bullshit, but then the action don't match the bullshit, and people then call out the bullshit, and they say, and the people that start talking, and it spreads like this, you know, and say, oh, do you believe in it, blah, 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 and then that's it, done, you're done. It's not gonna work.
That was actually my sort of next thought. Immediately was like, if you come in as a consultant, you can formulate the message, but really the leadership
Now you
inside the
have to have
business
strong
has to
leadership.
carry the message, right? They have to
Yeah.
deliver it because they have
Have to
the
have
at least some level of authority, or they should if they're doing
you
their work
have to have
correctly.
very strong leadership, and usually people don't know that. But the measure of this is the health and safety numbers. So you
Really?
would normally look at you look at the health and safety records, and that it's one of the most looked at for manufacturing. I'm talking about it's one of the most looked at numbers by investors in stock exchange, whatever, because that tells you the grip the company, the management has on the workers.
Amazing. That's
Mm.
fascinating. And actually, after this call is over, I'm going to do an introduction for you to somebody. I don't know if you saw my recent interview with my cousin Ronan Finnegan. He has a company
I
named
haven't, no.
Spacebands. Well, they are actually in that workplace space. They're building these anonymized wearable devices for industrial safety
Yeah,
purposes. They're working with uh, companies in the insurance space, and they're working very deeply with corporate health and safety departments and
yeah.
organizational safety departments. I think you and him would have an interesting conversation. I
Mm.
never heard this before, and I don't think he may be aware of it, but it didn't come up during our conversation. So I think your perspective on it
No,
maybe
definitely.
maybe
In
interesting to him too.
manufacturing, if you listen to a what you call shareholders call, you know, you can people the companies that are listening, you can listen to the shareholders call. If it's
Hmm.
in manufacturing, the health and safety will come up very quickly at the beginning, because it is such a measure of how strong the grip of the management is on the workers.
Wow, because it can't be faked, right? There's like
You can't.
you can dick around with the money, you can
Hmm.
mess around with all kinds of other things, you can put all sorts of bullshit
Yeah,
statistics, but there's
yeah.
a statutory obligation to report
To
workplace
report
accidents,
health and
right?
safety issues, that's right. Yeah,
So like
100%.
even if they're lying and cooking the books on the financial side, you can
You
still say,
can't.
okay, well, the company can't be that healthy because
Yeah.
20 people died last year.
Hmm. And you will usually that will usually be which is right, to be honest with you, from a human standpoint. But a company. I remember when I was in this company, you see factories, and the factories, the results are a little bit shady, right? It's not really making much profit. It's not great, right? And you will usually see, the health and safety starts dropping. There's a near miss reported. There's another thing. There's another thing. At that point, usually the management will say we're going to close it
Wow.
because that's a sign the MD in place doesn't have a good grip on it. It's not making money. It's not right. Cut it.
So you at some point moved away from change management and then got into the recruiting business. Is that correct? Or would you see
So
them as being the same thing or different?
no, no. So well, it's very linked, and I'll explain that in a second. So what happened is that I used to live in London, and I used to go to the French Institute in London,
Mhm.
and I used to network with other French people, and I started getting acquainted with people doing stuff on Amazon through that place, um, and then I was interested. There was a guy I was giving advice to on his Amazon business, about HR and recruitment because I knew about that, because of change management and stuff. And so then I wanted to move out of London, go to Cornwall because I had my first son. And so I went to look for a job, and I thought about this Amazon business. I was looking for someone, a large business on Amazon, and I met this French guy actually. He was looking for an HR director. So I applied and I got the job, and he had a typical problem that a lot of Amazon seller or course sellers or people like this have, is that he had a team, but they were not great. They were not really performing. They were not really engaged, and he was a bit slow and all that stuff. He was dissatisfied, and he wanted help to change that basically. And this is how my business started, really, because after about a year and a half working with him, I recruited different people. I put in place all the structure, like what people know as EOS in our network, But I mean, for me, it was natural. I learned it, in my corporate jobs, but objectives, KPI, um, performance reviews, management practices, all this sort of onboarding, recruitment system, SOPs, all this stuff put in place for him. And after a year, I said to him, look, I mean, I'm happy to continue, and you're willing to pay me, so that's happy days. But you don't need an HR director. That's it. Your team of 20, it's done. Not much else for me to do. And he said, yes, I know, I saw that, but I value you. So if you want to stay, you can stay. But I can maybe you can do other things in business development. I didn't want to do that. So and then he kindly introduced me to other people with an Amazon business, and then I had a business just like that. Getting from word of mouth from him, and started working with other people, and then I started doing this for other people.
So have you actually maintained that focus where you've niched down on people who do businesses on the Amazon platform?
Not just Amazon. I work with people who have an e-commerce because it's very similar, like Shopify or whatever. I've worked as well with coaching business and people who sell online courses,
Yes.
and I've worked also with some people who have marketing agencies. But I think probably 60% of my clients were, have been e-commerce business, e-com, whether it's Amazon or like marketplace or non-marketplace, doesn't matter.
Super interesting. I got some more
And I've
introductions for
never
you after
niched
this
down,
call.
the whole niching down and stuff. Um, I would say, no, I'm actually not kidding with this. Like 100% of my business has come from word of mouth.
Mhm.
I've never found a client myself. I mean, like you, I think. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a bit of a like loudmouth self-promoter, so I do now run advertising these days, and I'm haven't cracked it yet, but I am because I'm doing more local business lead gen these days, and sure enough, like referrals are bringing the clients to me. But I
Yeah.
also, from a professional credibility perspective, I feel like it's important that I can generate business for myself as well as for the clients. Like I'm able to generate leads for my clients, but I
Well,
also
not for
feel
you
like,
then.
yeah, I mean, I've generated some business for myself through advertising, but I would say 95% of the clients I've got through so far in the last 4 months have been through network and making noise on
Mm,
social media, and people I already know saying, "Hey, John, I've got a friend who's in that industry. Can you help him out?" And that's great. But yeah, I believe in the whole eat your own dog food concept. If you're going to sell it,
yeah.
you should already be doing it, you know?
Yes, I agree.
But I'm gonna have more I'm gonna have more introductions for you after this call because of the Amazon special or the e-commerce specialization. So from the perspective of online businesses, what makes recruiting for them different, and what do e-commerce business owners need to know when they're trying to build up a team?
So first of all, something that I see all the time is, and we're linking back to change management because you asked me what's the link between recruitment and change. Nothing will change in your business until you have a strong recruiting system. That's just, nothing will ever change because, and I see that so many times. It's actually quite crazy. Like, I work with business owners and, people who have large team and whatever. And so many of them are like this with their team, They're exactly what I was describing with,
What's this?
the cufflinks,
Oh, you mean the team has them kind of
Mm,
tied down to their desk?
mm. Yeah. Yeah, because they don't have a good recruitment system. So they're always asking, oh, yeah, he's not great, but who else is going to do this? And then thinking in the back of the mind, I'm going to have to do it. And then who is going to recruit for this position? I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to do this interview. And they don't want to do it. So they accept and accept and accept failure on a day-to-day basis. And the minute you put in place a good recruitment system, you show them, this is the candidates we can get. This is who we can talk to. You introduce them to great candidates with like good CV, good testing and stuff like that. It's literally like giving them again a gun, literally. And then they're empowered. And their determination, their focus, everything changes. It's one of my favorite thing to do is helping someone in this situation and getting them to this point and seeing the change in the mindset with their team and with their business. All of a sudden, everything they thought was blocked, or the glass ceiling and all that, and they can't grow and we're struggling and the operation is a mess, and how are we going to sort that out? Everything changed, and they think like, I can do it now. This is it. We can do it. We can get rid of this fucker who's been annoying me for so long. And I've been thinking for a long time, he's cheating time doctor and not tracking his time properly and probably not doing anything. Yeah, we can do this. It's really really great.
It's
So yeah,
interesting. People talk about systems a lot, but I mean, the systems have to be run by people.
it's bullshit. The systems. I tell you what, my firm conviction on all this is people who swear by systems. They're people who have. There is this weird idea nowadays that you have all these great SOPs and stuff, and you can put an untrained and often poorly educated person from a country without a great education system. You can probably know exactly which countries I'm talking about. Pay them $800 a month and expect that they're going to scale your business. It is never going to happen. It's complete fuckery.
It's fuckery for everyone,
For everyone.
and it's for both for the business owner and for the people they're recruiting because
The
they
stress they
become the
put these
business owner
people
become
under.
resentful and they
Yes,
bully these
yes,
people. They bully
yes,
them. I've seen it
yes,
so many
yes,
times.
yes. Oh, he's not following the SOP. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah,
And
no,
it's like,
man.
yeah, the kid he
It's just
stopped the kid stopped going to school at age 12, and he has like he's got a power outage for 4 hours every day. Of course he's not following your stupid SOP, bro.
yeah, no. And then as well, like what I don't understand is with the SOP, and I think it is from an unconscious standpoint. It's like avoiding the real problem, which is finding great people.
Hmm.
But you will have to explain to him one day, and I call, in the audience, maybe people are doing this SOP and believe that they can have this complex SOP and someone follow them by and they have a business on Amazon, or they have a Shopify business which rely on Google Ads or whatever, and they're going to have this great detailed SOP that you're meant to follow to the letter on advertising on Amazon or advertising on Google. Like, it's 2024, the amount of disruption in the marketplace, the amount of changes in the algorithm of Google or Amazon on a month by month basis. What are you even doing with a standard operating procedure? It's called standard for a reason, because it doesn't move. It comes from manufacturing standard operating procedure. It comes from buying a 200 million machine that's going to stay there for the next 20 years. It doesn't come from running a business on Google where the algo change every single week and new artificial intelligence technology disrupt the whole market, literally every day now. What are you doing? You need people who are agile, flexible, who can understand the environment, get information from everywhere, use technology in a very fluid and fast manner, and never ever rely on a standard operating procedure that doesn't change, hoping it's not going to change for even 6 months. It's nonsense.
Very interesting you say this, because my interview last night was with a lady named Carla Singson, who runs a company in proximity outsourcing. And she is from the Philippines, lives in Mexico, and provides team members for American companies. But when I asked her about things like systems, she talked very briefly about systems, but everything she talked about for the full hour was about her people. And the characteristics she talked about was that somebody has to have the intelligence to be able to be a critical thinker.
Yeah.
But also, as a human being, have the eagerness and like genuine empathy to want to help others, and also have the humility to not think that they are more further along on their path than the step they're on right now, this minute. And if they've got those qualities, I can do a great work with them. They can do great work with my team.
I think I agree with what she says. Yeah, I think it's I mean, for what I recruit, the position I recruit, I'm also looking for often specific knowledge, right? With the best will in the world, you can have all. This is what I don't know if you've read the book EOS, Traction, all this stuff, where the part on recruitment is very, very short, and which is, you hear it often, right? With Hormozy and people like this that say, "Oh, we're recruiting on values, recruit on values." Yeah, okay, great. You can recruit on values all you want, but if you need a paid ads manager, he needs to know a little bit how to go on Google and put some ads, right? There is a limit to that. You do need a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of skills to do stuff. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, and it's one of the things as well with AI. Like I don't know if you remember when ChatGPT broke through in your world of copywriting, everyone was worried about, it's going to be all the people based in Africa or in the Philippines or whatever, we're going to get all the business because they're going to be able to. It is not what happened. It's the other way around. We've been able to equip very, very strong copywriters with extremely powerful technologies that has absolutely massively augmented their throughput, making them so much more productive, therefore making their service more accessible to people because they don't need to buy, which is always what you do. You buy time out of people, and buying time out of someone who's highly trained, or whatever, is very expensive. But when you can buy a fraction of the time, because AI gives you the ability to just massively augment your output, then that's it. And the ones who have suffered the most, from my standpoint, in fact, from recruiting, now people want very highly skilled copywriters because they know they can equip them with Jasper, with whatever it is, and then get a massive output that before was done by teams of 5, 6, 7 people based in the Philippines, whatever. And now I see a lot of these teams being taken out, and we want one very strong copywriter who's going to use all the AI to create masses of content with a high quality.
That was my immediate suspicion, was that I didn't think it was going to take out big guys. I figured that's going to make the big guys, help them make more money and scoop up more of the market. Because I read, Peter Thiel? I haven't read EOS. I've heard of it. It's interesting what you said, because you said EOS is basically just a kind of, it's kind of like a sort of simplified version of standard operating procedure for big corporations, marketed to marketers or marketed to entrepreneurs.
I wouldn't go this far, but yeah, a little bit. Yes. Yes.
But Peter Thiel's book, 0 to 1, which I've got right here, and this book is such a good little book because there's nothing tactical in it. It's really all philosophy and principles. But he talked about the idea of the power law, about the dynamic new technology entering a market. It's very rarely a democratizing technology, and usually allows people who are the most skilled, most intelligent, most aggressive to just scoop up more market share, and actually usually just makes the pyramid narrow at the bottom and pointier at the top.
Yeah, it's a good image. It's a very good image for what AI is doing, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel it too.
100%.
It's harder for new people to get a start now. And
yeah.
the people who are doing good already, if they're using it, are getting
doing even better.
Are getting better. I've sort of neglected to use it in my writing process, but I do use it a lot in my preparation process. And but I know I'm not using it nearly as much as I could and should be. I try to use it a lot. It's a whole different conversation, but I do need to get more effective at it. So the real problem is finding great people.
Yes.
How do you find great people, especially if your business is online?
So if your business is online, you have a very strong competitive advantage, which is you can source from anywhere. You can get the best of the best at the best possible cost from any country, any place, anywhere. Now, with that, you will see a lot of people, and I mean, you see that a lot in corporate, but weirdly, even more in small businesses, is that people hire on tasks. They usually come to me. I see that all the time. They come to me and we have this, we want to hire whatever it is, and we have a list of tasks they're going to do. That's great to have a list of tasks, but first of all, you need to ask yourself, what is the objective of the position you've created? And does that objective tie up with your overall objective you have for the year? What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to do? And what is this person? How is this person? How is this position going to contribute to this objective? So many times you have people who have a problem to solve in their business. And that's one of the things that Homozy talks a lot, I think, in the right way. He's spot on this. Is people have a problem in their business, but it's a difficult problem. Therefore, they don't really know how to solve it, and it's hard and whatever. And so they go sidetrack and they create these positions in businesses, so many of them, which are just, I mean, it's great. It's great what they want to do, but it is not going to help them achieve the objective. And then, 6 months, 9 months, a year later, oh no, we're gonna fight because it didn't really get us a result. Of course, because it wasn't aligned. So of course we weren't gonna get any results. Yeah, I mean,
I'm thinking of a very specific situation here.
You have so many of them. You have so many of them.
Where the company I was working with, they promoted somebody to customer success manager, hired extra people, created a customer success team, and all these things. And really, when I looked at it from where I was sitting, I was like, they're just using these people as insulation so the company leaderships don't have to actually look more closely at the quality of their product and how committed they are to customer success. And the leaders just wanted a firewall between them and the customer. They just wanted to look the other way so they could collect their checks and not feel like they were underserving their markets.
Yeah. I have seen people who sell on Amazon, for example, when it got really tough on Amazon last year and the year before. They are recruiting for marketing, paid ads management, doing this, when ultimately their product, without considering anything, cost of acquisition, when you look at the cost of the product, the cost of shipping to the warehouse, from the warehouse to Amazon, all the Amazon fees, they're losing money. They're losing money. So you can do whatever you want on marketing. You're not going to get more profits. That's just not going to happen. If your product is already losing money before it leaves the warehouse, forget about marketing. You're not making profit, full stop. And that problem, I get it. It's really hard to solve, right? So a lot of human nature is try to find ways of doing other things to be busy and to hide the problem. But the problem doesn't. So anyway, all this to say, the objective of the position you create need to align with your core objective. If you get to there, that's fantastic. The second thing is you need to think about what I call the KPI of that objective. So the position has an objective or 2 or 3, whatever. And then what are the KPI, the key performance indicators you're going to track on a week by week or month by month basis to know that we are on track with the objective. So I give you a quick example. I always give the same business development. We want to add $2 million of new business this year. How are we going to do that? Well, the key performance indicator could be, for example, how many outreach are we doing? How many qualified meetings are we having? How many demos are we doing? How many, you see what I mean? So you track all this stuff. And now we've got this, we can start thinking about the tasks. So the tasks are, in order to get meetings, I'm going to need to, well, send email to people, find leads, blah, 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 list all this. And then once we have the task, we can think about the three things that can tell us sort of person who's going to both be very good at doing the task and also love it. That's the two things you want. You want someone who's got the skills and knowledge to do the task properly, and also the type of character that means he's going to love doing it. He's going to have a good time doing this. There's no point, obviously, anyone can see that, but business developer, you're not going to find, an introvert who doesn't like talking to new people doing this. You want someone who loves phone calls, who loves meetings, who loves talking to people and convincing people and whatever. He can be a bit shit at Excel and not really great at sending reports, but if he loves talking to new people, he's going to get results, right? So, and that's why it makes me laugh when I see the job description. We need a team player who's, hungry for success and is a real hustler and whatever. How many buzzwords can you line up in the job description that mean nothing?
It's interesting when you see those job descriptions and you've seen enough of them. At a certain point, the person who wrote this doesn't actually know what they want.
I know.
And if they don't know what they want, then it means that the person who hired that person to write this advertisement doesn't know what they want either.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't have accepted this job. It's super interesting. So is part of your job as a recruiter to kind of go in there and be that annoying guy who says, when someone says, I want to hire a new...
Stop. We're not doing this. We're changing. Why? Yeah, 100%. Because the thing is, once you are clear on skills, knowledge, and character, attitude, I call it. Once you are clear on these three things and they relate to the task, and we're clear that if we find someone who knows how to do this stuff, who knows that type of things, so that skills and knowledge, who has this sort of attitude and character traits, then we know that person is going to be great at doing the task and going to love the task. Therefore, and then we're going to go up, they're going to have, their key performance indicators are going to be green. Therefore, the objectives are going to be achieved. Therefore, everyone's going to be happy, right? Because we're making money and it's all success. So we test the person we find. Then once you've got this, you create tests. Test the skills, the knowledge, and the characters that you've highlighted.
But at a deeper level, and this is the question I wanted to ask is, are you in a situation, you gave an example of a company where they're hiring a bunch of people and but the underlying problem is that the product doesn't have enough margin in it to support the growth of the business.
Yeah.
So in that case, you're almost like, you're coming to that business, they want to hire a new CMO and they want to scale with more advertising. And do you have to actually come in and say, actually, you don't need a CMO. Right now, you need a much better head of purchasing who can actually help you.
I've done it. So I mean, in my business, I provide two types of services. I provide what I call EOS implementation. I try to get away from EOS wording anyway. Let's call it EOS. People know what it is. EOS implementation, and I provide one-off recruitments. So one-off recruitment, you're not as embedded with the company and stuff. So I try to be careful of who I accept in terms of this kind of service, and make sure they're reasonably educated on recruitment before I take it. But I have this conversation about what tests we're going to run, how we're doing this properly. But when I do EOS implementation, I am a lot more embedded in the company, and I will usually, challenge the business owner and say, why do you want a CMO? Why do you want to do this? Well, what are our costs on Amazon? And when we can have this conversation, I help them, think through this. I'm not an expert on it, but I can ask the right questions to help them think through it. And it's happened 2 or 3 times when, I found out that my clients, who I had a very deep relationship, I would say to him, look, you're losing money here. You are losing money on your product before they leave the warehouse. So I can find you a great CMO. That's not going to help you, mate. You've got to go to your suppliers and negotiate something, or you've got to stop selling this product. because everything you do right now is continuing to bleed you out of your cash. And that's something like, so that's something I have. I am quite conservative in terms of money myself, right? But business owners, especially successful ones, are not really conservative. They're risk takers and stuff. And that's a trait I admire a lot. But often they are also a little bit careless, and they let the cash bleed out of their business without knowing that. You'll be surprised. I am always surprised of how many people actually know their cost models and actually know which product make profits and which don't and stuff. Not many people know that properly.
Mm-hmm. What I've seen, and this is with people I know closely, is that when people have been in a business for so many years, they have a very sentimental attachment to it.
Yes.
Where even if they, on some level, deep inside, know that things are going in a wrong direction, and that the rational decision would be to close the doors,
Yes.
preserve what cash you have, and start again.
Yes.
They have emotionally ties to their team, ties to the business, ties to the promises, all these things, the history, and they don't want to let it go. And they'll wait till it's all gone before they shut the doors, instead of shutting the doors early and giving themselves a chance to start again.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. And I think there's also the sunken cost. Like the car you need fixing. At which point do you stop fixing the car and buying a new one? But every money you put in the car keeps you in the game, keeps you in the game, keeps you in the game, tied to the car, and it keeps needing fixing. It's true. It's so true.
It's true.
In 6 months, I'm gonna do this one, and then in 6 months, if there's another thing, I'll stop. But then something happens 4 months after. Yeah, but this time it's definitely the last time. And then 3 months later, yeah, but I've already added this amount, so now if I sell it, I'm losing money still. And you're in.
Yeah, the mental gymnastics people go to avoid facing hard truths. We all,
I know.
which we all do.
Which we all have.
In different areas of our lives. Do you want to talk to me a little bit about EOS? Because it's something I don't know much about, and I've recently heard multiple people speak about it. Is this something that's actually like become deeply embedded with a lot of company owners as an important way to run their business?
Yes, so a lot of people, say they have EOS, but don't really have it. I've seen many companies, where they think, oh yeah, I have EOS and we run EOS, and I look at it and say, you're not running EOS. You think you are running EOS, and that's probably better than what you had before, but you're not really running EOS. So EOS is an operating system. Now, you think about your computer. When you open your computer, you have Windows, you have Mac, and that means you can take your mouse and double click on email or double click on Word or double click whatever, and it opens up. If you didn't have that, you just open a black screen with a little dot. And you'll have to type fucking command lines, blah, 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 exe, some stuff. So that stuff happens. It will be horrendous. It will be awful. You will lose so much time doing all these command line, right? So it's much easier to have an operating system that's able to take your mouse and click on stuff, and then it happens. But it's the same. People who run a business without an operating system, when they want to do something, they are inputting command line on their BIOS as opposed to clicking. That's the overall use of an operating system in a business. It's being able to make decisions easily based on good reporting, good amount of data, good knowledge of your business, and then seeing these decisions happen quickly without much friction and with speed and velocity and effectiveness. So for people who implement this operating system, it helps them to obviously make more profits, save time for themselves, so they don't have to always be constantly monitoring their decisions, always constantly finding information to make decisions even broadly. And that removes a lot of stress because ultimately they have a lot more control on the business. Now, how does that work? You have a number of components for this, but if I describe it very, very broadly for people to understand, is literally having a number for everything in your business. So when I was talking about this business development manager, we know he needs to add 2 million. And how is he going to do this? Well, he needs 5 meetings a week. He needs 2 qualified meetings, and all this is numbers driven. And ultimately you have a dashboard. Usually I run that with my clients. I create what I call an exec team. So they have a sales director, an operations director, and if they have like tech or whatever, like a support, head of tech or whatever, and every one of these people has a reporting, very simple reporting, just a few slides on the presentation, with their key objectives for their department. And it's either red, orange, or green. If it's green, we're on track, it's working. We need to talk about it. It's fine, it's going well. If it's orange, we have a small blocker, something we think we can resolve, but there is something. And if it's red, it's a big fucking problem. We're not going to achieve it unless we do something drastic. We need decisions. We need to do it. We meet every week. Everyone has their reporting. Bam, 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 bam. We go through it. It's very simple. And then as a business owner, you have a team who's handling each department. You just see the top level of everything, the top numbers for each key objectives you have in each department. And things are progressing. Boom, 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 boom. And that means you have control on your business. Like what I was saying about the health and safety numbers at the beginning, like the stock exchange companies who judge the company's control by the management on the health and safety numbers. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. You can judge a company owner's control on his business if he knows the top numbers properly. If he's got a good idea of what are the objectives of the operations department, what are they trying to do this year? If he says something like, "Oh, we're building a new reporting data set, and we're going to make sure we try not to be out of stock too often on Amazon," okay, but he doesn't have a fucking clue what he's doing, right? But if he says, well, objective is to double our sales this year, sadly, operation isn't right, so we have to have a new warehouse to double our output. We are launching 5 new products for the next 10 months, so that's 1 every 2 months. And in terms of operation, we're operating at 80% on time in full deliveries. We need to get to 90%, and for that, we're implementing a new set of tech, a new this and a new that. Knows what he's doing, in control. He might not know the details of every single stuff he just said there, but he knows the top line and he knows where he is at. He's in control.
So this, to me, like visually inside my mind, just seems like, again, pyramidal structure with a cascading set of goals.
Absolutely.
And at each level of the business, there's one goal, and then those pyramids branch out into smaller pyramids.
Absolutely. And if someone wants to start doing EOS, the most important thing they need to do is saying, "Hey, John, what's your objective this year?" "Julien, my objective is to double my sales." "How are you going to do that? What are you going to do? Why are you going to do this? And how are you going to achieve this?" Open questions, open questions, open questions.
It's so funny because things always come back to these same principles again and again.
Yes.
This book, Great Leads, copywriting book. First chapter talks about the rule of one. That when you have more than one focus in your copy, it falls apart. Every time you write, you must have one idea to build the whole thing around and stick to one. When we do email marketing, the most common mistake I see with people with email marketing, like junior people, is they try to put three ideas into one email. It's like, no, that's 3 emails. Just take that email, break it into 3 parts, and each one's a separate email. And it's like,
same thing
at every level. This cascading, it's like this fractal expansion from one thing to another layer of ones, and then another layer of ones below.
We want to double our sales. Okay, how are you going to get more sales? How are you going to deliver all these sales? Well, we're going to do X and Y. Okay, why, what, how? Boom, 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 boom. And then you get to, maybe sales as 3 key objectives, and then each objective is in one department, and then for these departments, same thing. You break it down to more sub-objectives, and that's new positions. And then you see, it's like Lego.
Yeah, it's no matter what subjects you talk about with people, it's like, in the end, things tend to boil down to these very tiny set of principles that are reapplied everywhere.
Yes, it does.
Julien, thank you for talking with me tonight.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me, John.
What should people reach out to you to talk about, and where should they find you?
Well, they can find me on my website. I can drop the link.
I will. I'll put it in the video description.
my Facebook profile or my LinkedIn profile, whenever they want to talk, you know. But they can talk to me about recruitment, EOS, the sort of stuff we've discussed together, honestly.
Yes, but using the sort of principle we just talked about there, about this idea of the one or the objective. If someone, what's the perfect objective a person has? Where you say, I'm your man for that.
It is. So I'll drop you a link. There's a link. In fact, there's a link that goes on the landing page on my website where they can join a free community, and they can have access to all the resources that I discuss in this podcast. So how to do objectives, how to do KPI, how to run EOS, all that. They can have all the shebang in the community. So I'll drop that page, and then they can join, and then we can chat.
So if they wanted to get clear on objectives, talking to you will be a great thing to do.
That's it.
Perfect. That's a wrap.
Beautiful.
Okay. I'll stop the recording. Thank you so much.
Cool.
If I can get my mouse cursor back.